Startups, entrepreneurship, starting your own new business. Join me every week as we dive into stories, topics, and advices from the top founders, innovators, the crazy ones, the misfits, the troublemakers. Every Saturday at 4 p.m. I'll see you there. Adrian, I want to start off with why you're in Pakistan.
So I came to Pakistan to explore here and basically figure out what the opportunities were in terms of connecting with the ecosystem.
You started your entrepreneurial journey 14 years ago. What was the experience like because you worked all your life for someone else?
So it was like 2 years in total that
okay.
I actually worked for companies. So that was enough for me to test. That was like, it's not for me. I realized I could have conversations with people and like talk to strangers, and I had no issues socializing at all. In New York City, we were pitch investors. We got a lot of interesting deals. This was People Hunt. People Hunt is when we got the most amount of traction.
You travel the world, you do networking, you do events. What is the importance of networking?
Necessary for certain things, I feel, still, the face-to-face aspect, you know, but not a given, right? Now you can do a lot through Zoom. Pre-COVID, the assumption was like, if I've never met you face-to-face, if I've never had coffee, I don't know you well enough to do business. Post-COVID, we realized we were forced to do stuff just online, right? And that assumption broke.
Assalamu alaikum, my name is Saad Allahwala and we're back with another podcast where we always talk about startups, we always talk to local entrepreneurs. But today we have a very special guest, someone who is not a Pakistani, someone who's come from abroad, Adrian Avendano, who is originally from Mexico, US and Ireland.
Yes.
And is visiting Pakistan. Now, the funny part is, or the attractive part of this is that he was just here for a week and it's been over 3 months since he's here. And I don't know, he's enjoying it or whatever he's doing. Let's find out. So Adrian, thank you so much for coming. Thank you for your time. Thank you for flying in.
No, thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk with you today.
Adrian, I want to start off with why you're in Pakistan. But before that, I want to know a bit more about you. Where are you from? Where you studied? How did your journey start?
Okay, so I grew up between Mexico City and New York in the US. So since I was a kid, I was between both countries, right? So I always, since I was young, I was exposed, since I was a kid, like 1, 2, 3, 4 years of age, I was exposed to both cultures, you know, US and Mexico. So my first language was Spanish and then English just right after that.
So what were your parents doing that they were flying in?
So my mother used to work for an airline company. So she was always between, the main spot was New York City and Mexico City. So that was what I was with her most of the time. And so yeah, basically my childhood days, I remember hanging out in Central Park, and you know, my toys were from like the biggest toy stores in New York City. And like, that's how I grew up. This is my, like, eating donuts and having like Chinese food from on 7th Avenue. You know what I mean? Like as a kid, this is my exposure as a kid, and seeing people from all over the world in New York City, right? So this is how I grew up as a kid. So I was always exposed to multicultural sort of environment. And my mother also, she traveled to 50 countries actually.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, our dinner conversation was about Japanese culture and how people are behaving in Japan and Iran and all these countries, right? So we were talking about that.
Was there Pakistan in the mix?
No, she never came to Pakistan. Yeah, she went to India.
Okay.
But not Pakistan.
Close.
So yeah, that's me growing up. So, and also my first job was in actually South Jersey in New York, in the US. Yeah, like my first, me working for a company.
Where were you working?
It was like a t-shirt company, t-shirt store, a shop, and then like in restaurants. I was working as my summer jobs. So yeah, like since I was 17, I was working a lot during the summers in South Jersey. And then as well there were a lot of people from all over the world, and because there used to be people from, you know, Ireland, Egypt, UK, Germany, everywhere would go to this location in South Jersey called Wildwood. and work there. So I met people, even more people there from all over the planet when I was 17 years of age.
South Jersey is where?
New York, New Jersey. Yeah.
New Jersey.
New York,
Uh-huh.
New Jersey, South Jersey.
Okay.
South of the state of New Jersey. New Jersey State, south. Yeah. So yeah, like basically, long story short, I was working there every summer, and I used to save up a lot of money working. Like I was making $6-7 an hour, and I was saving up like $6,000 just in a few months. So every summer I saved up until like I managed to save like 40-50K.
Wow.
Yeah. And so by the age of 19, I already had like a lot of money saved up from working. So yeah, I was by the age of 19, 20, I was independent because I had my own money, you know, to do anything I wanted basically. And it was US dollars, so it became.
How old are you now?
I'm 38 now.
Almost double my age.
So yeah, that's me growing up, and then I studied computer science and engineering. I was in Mexico and Denmark and in London, Brunel University as well. Yeah, and after that I lived in Holland. I started working in Mexico for a little bit, and then I got a job in Holland, and then I started working in Ireland.
What were you doing there?
Programming.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, okay, interesting. What kind of companies?
Software developing companies, IT companies, you know. So
yeah.
But then I realized that, you know, working for other people was not my thing at all. And in 2008, I quit my job and started my first company. Basically.
And which country was that in?
Ireland.
Okay.
Yes. So
awesome.
That's when I started my real entrepreneurship path in 2008. So that's 14 years ago. And I've started literally 5 tech startups, and it's been a long journey, and that's what I've been doing, right? Building my own companies, and now specifically connecting the world's emerging tech communities.
That's beautiful.
So I came to Pakistan to explore here and basically figure out what the opportunities were in terms of connecting with the ecosystem and seeing what problems the ecosystem has, and obviously also find out what kind of interesting opportunities. And yeah, I end up staying more than 3 months, so unexpectedly.
You started off in New York, you went all around, you started your entrepreneurial journey 14 years ago. What did you start off with when you left your job, and what was the experience like? Because you worked all your life for someone else. So working for yourself for a change, what was that like?
Well, actually, it was actually very little time that I worked for somebody else. I mean, I did the summer jobs, right? Working for like in restaurants, right? In shops. But I only worked for other companies. It was like less than 2 years, really. Yeah. So in Holland, I worked for a company. It was 4 months, and in Ireland was like 14 months, and in Mexico. So it was like 2 years in total that I actually worked for companies. So that was enough for me to test. That was like, it's not for me, right? Working for other companies. So yeah, it was not much that I worked for others. So it's been most of my life working in my own projects, right? That's basically it. Yeah. And to answer your question, so in 2008, I realized, you know, what were my interests, and my interests were really about obviously tech, but I was not just the introverted programmer. I realized I could have conversations with people and like talk to strangers, and I had no issues socializing at all.
Yeah.
Versus like typical IT tech people who they struggle communicating, right? So I had the genetics maybe that I could communicate easily. So I was like, I need to leverage those skills that I can code. I have a developer's mind, but also I can socialize, right? So that's the company I started. It was like this is 2008, remember, online platform for which I started doing like connecting people from, you know, online events to offline gatherings. And the idea was to connect people from different backgrounds. So imagine I wanted to bring scientists together with entrepreneurs and also with artists. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to create like this meetups, but with an online social network for people from different backgrounds to connect. And this was to the purpose maybe to make friends, to collaborate on projects, and basically have an interesting experience, like I wanted to bridge the gap between online community and offline, right? So this is 2008, right? So social media was picking up big time, right? 2008, but there was not much bridging between online and offline. So that's how I started, right? Building this platform to build that bridge.
Awesome. And how did that go? Was it successful? What did you sell it off? And then because you said you did 5 different ventures.
Yes. So the first couple of years, 2008, 2009, was experimenting, right? So build this platform online. I'm a developer, I build it. And then we built, 2008, the iPhone. 2009 came out and the App Store came out. And then me and my co-founder, we realized, no, we need to do like apps because that's the thing now, right?
Yeah.
So basically we got MacBooks.
That was big on apps. Yeah, you're right.
MacBooks, and then I start coding for the iPhone, right? So I start building apps. So we shipped our first iPhone app on the end of 2009.
Wow.
Yep.
That was pretty early.
Super early. And so I shipped it, we put it in the App Store, and we got like several thousand users on our first app in 2009, 2010. It was called Crowd Scanner at the time. And it was an app just to like a geolocation app. You put basically, you were in a location and then you set up a question and somebody else can find that question and connect with you. So I was always trying to build, say, before Tinder existed, like a Tinder for non-dating purposes. You see, this was kind of my
like Bumble business or Bumble friends.
Exactly, before Bumble ever existed, before Tinder existed, right? We were talking 2008, 9, 2010, right? So I was already building up for that intent. And that led to another application that we built to do the Tinder thing, but for events, for conferences, right? So like literally was like very much like Tinder.
Is there anything like that anymore? Like now?
There's like event apps that first.
I mean, yes, event apps, but like people who want to do events but need a platform to connect.
There's platforms. The problem is the business model is tricky because it's complicated, like selling to event organizers, but event organizers might not want to pay for that unless it's like long-term subscription based, because event organizers think, no, our event, we know how to make people network and connect with one another. We don't need an app. So it was a tricky business model, but it still got us funding. We got 100K from a VC in Ireland. The Enterprise Ireland is called, so it's public-private fund. So we got 100K at the time for this platform, the Connecting on Events. And that with that money, we were like, hey, we need to expand, not in Europe, in US. So we set up an office in New York. And WeWork, actually. We were like the first kind of cohort WeWork. And we were there 2011, 12 in New York City. We were pitch investors. We got a lot of interesting deals. And we also moved to San Francisco, pitching to investors. And we got an acquisition offer. A company wanted to buy our company at the time because this was People Hunt. People Hunt is when we got the most amount of traction. We got like literally global press of the 5 connecting. This is, remember, mind you, this is just connecting app, but for friend purposes, right? Because we shipped it out of events and started just connecting people for friend purposes, right? Based on common interests. And yeah, so at the time we got ranked at the 5 most popular app for connecting for friends. So we were with Foursquare, Meetup, us, and 2 other apps, right? This is 2013, 14. So we got a lot of traction there. And we got money in Chile, in South America, for this program called Startup Chile. And also we got acquisition offer from Meetup.com, this company from New York. And then, yeah, we went through the conversations, but the deal didn't go through because my co-founder had issues with her visa. So yeah, that led to the second project, which this is kind of what I'm...
So this one shut down then?
Yeah, because we couldn't... I broke up with my ex. She was my co-founder. So it was kind of hard to sustain, the growth on my own, So I kept doing it, but it was...
But you didn't sell it off.
Basically ran out of money at the time. So 2013, I had like $600 left. In New York City. $600 left in New York City.
So it's $600 in New York City. Pretty rough.
Yes, exactly. So I just like, okay, I need to survive somewhat. And then, so me being a developer, and I was like, I'm not going to get a job in a company. So maybe I can help some friend with a part-time project code for 3 months, part-time, and get paid like $100 an hour. So that's what I did, right? So I found through my network in New York City, I connected with friends of friends, and then they were giving me $100 an hour, and for like 3 months, and I saved up to give me funding for my next venture, right? Which led to the organizing the events and getting sponsors in New York City and SF in Miami to connect the tech ecosystem there with Latin America, right? That led into organizing 135 gatherings around the world.
That's phenomenal.
With a purpose to build bridges, collaboration, partnerships between the emerging tech ecosystem, the startup ecosystems, and so on, right?
So Adrian, you call yourself a super connector.
Yeah.
You connect people. You travel the world. You do networking. You do events. What is the importance of networking? If someone says that, oh, why should I meet someone? I can talk to them online. Why should I go to an event?
I'm not saying you should go to an event, right? The question is now, you got a pre-COVID, post-COVID world, right? Pre-COVID, we had the assumption that we needed that real, like to build, people like to do business with people they like, right?
Yeah.
And who they connect with. So the assumption was like, if I've never met you face to face, if I've never had coffee with your drinks or dinner, I don't know you well enough to do business with you, right? So that was the assumption pre-COVID. But now post-COVID, we realized we were forced to do stuff just online, right? And that assumption broke, right? To a certain extent, right? The investors start giving money to startups they never met. Just Zoom call, few Zoom calls, here's a check, right? So that's crazy, for pre-COVID world, that's crazy. Post-COVID world, it's happening, right? So no, pre-COVID, yes, it was the assumption that we needed that face time to really build trust. Post-COVID, it's necessary for certain things, I feel, still, the face-to-face aspect, but not a given, right? Now you can do a lot through Zoom and just having those calls. And if it's a very sort of very imminent partnership or like obvious partnership you can do with somebody, yes, you can just do it from online calls, right? So yeah, to answer your question, we need both now. I think in this post-COVID world, it's all about hybrid.
Yeah, it's all about hybrid. So, you are a community builder, you used to work full time with that. How did you monetize it? Like, so I work with Startup Grind. I know a lot of other people who work with Startup Grind, but struggle to make a living through this way. I've been lucky, so I haven't struggled so much. But other people who want to do this full time, who love to do events, who love to host people, who love to introduce other people to other people, a startup to an investor, a guy who's doing a job to a startup founder to get a new job, whatever. How can they monetize it, in your opinion? What's the best strategy for them?
Well, it's a tricky question because it depends.
In a scenario that you've seen around you, even doesn't have to be Pakistan specific, anywhere in the world.
Yeah. So again, it depends because from my perspective, right? When I started doing the events, I did it because I wanted to connect. I was not thinking, okay, I'm gonna directly make a lot of money.
Yeah.
My mission was I can create the biggest impact doing this because nobody else can do it better than I can. So not many people think like this, but I think like this. It's like, what can I be the best in the world at? I'm basically not the best developer. Definitely not. Not the best coder, no. But I have a shot at being the best tech super connector on earth, I have a shot at that, right? So I focused on that, on my superpower. And that led to people give you money because they realize you're really good at that, right? You're creating a lot of value, right? So that's in terms of, I focus more on where you can create the most amount of value and impact, right? And usually the money sorts itself out, right? And that's kind of what happened with me, right? So I started doing these gatherings, and then people in New York, I want to be a sponsor. Here's like $1,000 just from nothing, right? It's like, whoa, $1,000 just to say 5 words. I was like, wow, that's easy money, right? So I started doing over and over. Just the money came. I was not like pushing. It just came because I did it at the right time, I guess, right? started the right time in San Francisco, and there's a lot of money in San Francisco, New York, obviously, right? And so I was getting sponsors. I was getting these law firms giving me money. I was making deals from connecting people in Latin in the US. And so the deals just came, and I was doing something that I was obsessed about, not passionate. I was obsessed, right? And then just literally the money sorted itself out, right? The disruptive part was COVID, because everything changed, right? So I had to re-engineer everything. Pre-COVID I was already in a role with 45 gatherings pre-COVID, right? I had sponsors lined up in Brazil, in Vietnam and stuff, right? And then everything ended at COVID, right? So the last couple of years have been tricky for all of us, right? Figuring out what's the model to chase first. So my advice is like, yeah, you need to make money, of course, but you will give up. It doesn't work out on the first, second try if you are not really committed to the mission or the problem you're trying to solve, right? Because it might not work out. But if you're doing it for the money, you will give up on the first round, right? But you need to do several experiments, right? So it's chase the problem versus chase the money.
I totally agree. So even in a previous podcast with Obed, who was just here, that's what we talked about, that if you're doing work to make money, you might make some money, but
Sure.
Whenever you're doing work for your passion, money follows, and then it's more than we can ever even imagine. So that's very true. So again, coming back to the fun part, why are you in Pakistan?
Oh yeah. So I was planning, again, going back then, I was planning a gathering here with 5 VCs in Karachi, here in Karachi, at Nest, back then Nest. So I had the ticket and visa ready, and then COVID happened, and I got stuck in March 2020 in the country of Georgia. So I couldn't come. And then, so, like I said, I'm being organized 135 gatherings everywhere. And Pakistan was one of the countries that we did not do anything, right? Like a sizable, we did China, we did Japan, we did Korea, we did India, Bangladesh, you name it, right? And it was like Pakistan, sizable country in Asia that we have not touched. So it was like key country, right? And then, but didn't happen. And then until now, I managed to come and find out how things are like here. Basically, that's kind of the how it happened.
Awesome. And why are you still here?
Yeah, so I came here initially more than a week, right? It was like 2-3 weeks, depends how things go, right? That was
that was only Islamabad or also?
No, I didn't know. It's like, okay, I was like, let's go Karachi, see how things go. Maybe I go, if people.
So you landed in Karachi.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then maybe I thought, maybe I go to the mountains and see the mountains, and literally I was just checking it out just to see, and like it was the amount of traction I start getting here. It was like 5-10x to what I was getting other ecosystems, meaning how the locals were responding, or the actual tapping in need. I felt that my timing of me being here was right, as in those highlighting the stories of what people are working on, what they're doing here, and coming from, somebody who's not, I don't have any family, I have nothing related with Pakistan, right? So it was really blank slate kind of approach. People were really responsive to that. The fact that I'm just talking about the innovation that is happening here, the problems people are having here, and exposing, Pakistan is having this and this and this. These are the opportunities, these are the challenges, but, and then, getting tons of traction here. And I was like, okay, I'm getting way more traction than any other country, like Turkey, for sure, right? Or Turkey or Balkans or anything. Sure. Yes. And so, they said, okay, I really just go with the flow. If things keep happening, I'll keep staying. If something else happens somewhere else, I'll go that place, So that's literally, a lot of things have been happening here for me, and that's why I've been staying this long.
That's phenomenal. What can we do, or how can we help you to achieve your mission more quickly? And what can you offer us? Because if someone here is a community builder himself, or is someone's a founder and is looking at the podcast and they want to connect with you,
Yeah.
what are you expecting from them and what should they expect from you? That's my main question.
Well, the reason it's not because I'm being narcissistic or anything, right? My mission in life, again, is to create impact, right?
Yeah.
Being creative and technology. I believe in technology for the betterment of humanity, right? And my single job, as I've mentioned, is to leverage tech for us to progress as humanity, right? I'm not the only one working on this, but my focus specifically has been in communities, markets, countries that not many people know about,
Okay.
right? And before coming to Pakistan, I heard stories that people are nice here and stuff, but I didn't know exactly what's going on here. We hear all the bad stories, right? The TPP and whatnot. We don't hear any good stories, barely any good. Okay, yeah, YouTubers come here and they go Sadar and look at the market and look at the vegetables. Like, okay,
Good
cool.
food.
Okay, cool. Yes, and it's like, oh, Karachi is so crazy. Okay, cool. What? Tell me more. Like, what's the? Yes, the cultural stuff is, I love it, but what's the innovation? What's the problems? What are the hard problems Pakistanis are trying to solve, right? So that's my goal, really, identifying those problems. And yeah, so I'm a networker. So if there's networkers out there, spread the word, really.
So he's less of a networker and more of an internet worker. So networker.
Yes.
And he wants to connect with everyone who is in the technology space and learn about your problems, learn about what you are facing, and he's sort of trying to solve that as well through a very interesting.
So going back to answering your second question, how
Yeah.
can I help? Yes. So basically what I'm doing is, obviously I've been doing tons of connections, right? Somebody here needs to be connected with like a corporate in Miami or Brazil. I can get to those people, right? But that's not very scalable, right? So what I wanted to do is a scalable way of making those connections happen, right? So what I'm working on is, think about a connector chat GTP.
Okay.
So think about a tool. So I have to mention this, I've been doing lots of interviews, right? I've been meeting people and then posting the interviews. So I'm doing the media side.
Not enough. I would say not enough. You should be doing more.
Okay. I'll take that in. Media side, because it's very important to make those interviews, because it allows me to connect, and understand better than just text, right? So basically those interviews on the front end, the media side, and the back end, I'll be building the repository of problems, right? So think of a chat GTP, but instead of giving you any information, it will tell you who you should be meeting based on a problem that you have. If you say, I want to find developers for the textile industry who know all the supply chain stuff and build an app, right? So who is working on that problem around the world, and what their names are.
Yeah.
And then you can connect with those. So that's the tool I'm working on at the moment.
If someone has a problem specifically, if they're like working in the mobility industry and they have a startup, but they're facing a specific problem with either development or with even if it's a social problem, that they're getting backlashes or something, or bad PR, how do they tackle that? Is that also something that they can search on the platform if the information is there?
Well, it's
like, is it scenario specific also?
Yeah, so it could be anything. The question is, who else is facing a similar problem?
Yeah. And then how do you collect that data?
Yeah, so there's two approaches: through the interviews, but that's not very scalable. So I'm trying to see, now once we launch the alpha with some basic information, then invite communities at Y to start putting in more data, right? But at least more vetted, not just random anyone. At least some vetted individual,
like either if it's a renowned startup founder,
or
some news or some proper news agency, maybe
or a community builder, or somebody with somewhat a reputation behind, right?
Yeah, a reference.
Exactly. To post, and then he or she will, or it will be visible, right? It could be this organization behind, right? Will be visible to be able to connect, right? So the media will highlight a specific problem, and then through the media post, we'll put a link, right? So I'll imagine I interview you, and then you tell me what's your main pain point. My main pain point is editing podcasts for portrait versions. It takes a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
So I will link that to who else is having the same problem as you in the repository, right? So that's the idea.
That's phenomenal. And it could really solve a lot of problems that are around us, specifically because it's a global problem, but I've seen it around us. So we tend to really make a fuss of some things, or a problem out of things that are not really problems. They might be problems for us in the moment, but they're not problems for someone else. So if someone has a solution, it's their daily task. It's not really a challenge or a problem for them. So yeah, you're right. And I see this as an Upwork 2.0. I see this as, you're right, ChatGPT for problems and solving with network and business specific. So I'm really excited for this. He said that I'm gonna get access to the beta version so I can get some feedback. But right now he is alive. He is with me, and he is networking, connecting. So until that platform actually comes out, do talk to him, do try to network with him, invite him over, and talk to him about what kind of problem you're facing, and maybe he knows someone who can solve that problem, because he's already done more than 134 events. So that's a large number of events. I've only done 10, so I'm not even close. So he knows so many people in so many countries, and he is one to connect you with someone sitting maybe in Singapore or Korea who is working in a similar industry. So I showed you around Karachi today. We haven't gone to our school yet, but you saw the incubator, you saw the work we're doing. What kind of advices would you have for us? Because over here we are really advocating, and we're pushing networking and connecting, community building a lot. We want to create the next leaders of Pakistan, but we also want to help a typical Pakistani with their social problems and their income problems. So I just wanted to ask you a feedback from today. After looking at the work we're doing, after looking at what Hunar Foundation is also doing, I saw we went to also university. So just a feedback, because Agora perspective is always very good, because we don't get a lot of people to criticize us, who also has exposure. If someone from Pakistan is actually appreciating us, that guy also doesn't have a lot of exposure global.
Yes.
So I just wanted your perspective.
Well, I find it okay. I've been in the tech development work for a long time, meaning I've met NGOs who are trying to basically do what is called, the key word here is capacity.
Yeah, capacity building work.
Right? So I've met even a lot of NGOs in Bangladesh doing a lot of capacity building work, and Bangladesh is very NGO based.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Big time. And same Myanmar, doing a lot of capacity building stuff. So meaning there's a lot of startups who are getting funding, and a lot of the work is not just on building a user base and trying to monetize it, but a lot of the work is also on capacity building, yes, right? And upskilling, or at least educating a user base, if it's a marketplace for something, to kind of get to a specific level, meaning kind of also building up the ecosystem, right? Not just the products, but the ecosystem itself. And what you guys are doing is kind of ecosystem work, meaning the capacity building. You're creating a capacity building organization, right?
Yeah.
So, and that's amazing. So I think one key thing will be on the metrics, and you have very specific metrics, right? That if you don't make 100
mutual friends.
Metrics.
Like
Metric. Metrics meaning if you don't have numbers, like if
I mean, you're talking about the mutual friends or with posts or 100,000 rupees?
yes,
Okay,
that's
yeah.
like one metric, right? For people here to sort of succeed,
Yeah, okay. So we're guaranteeing 100,000 rupees, and if you're not reaching that, you're not really successful.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
So that's a good metric to have, but I think it can't be the only one because you're doing capacity building work.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a great metric, but I think there has to be other metrics,
So
in
there is.
place.
The only reason we're actually pushing that, and it's only in the front end. That's only on the billboard.
Yeah.
Once someone actually comes in, the whole system for them is changed. So
Yeah.
they're not even focusing on the 100K.
Yeah.
They're focusing on capacity building. They're focusing on development of themselves, of their families.
Yes.
It's just a crowd. It's a strategy to pull a crowd.
Yes.
That's the only thing.
Yeah. My point is, yes, that's great. But in terms of for you as an organization, right? I think you need also, the more metrics you have, the better data you'll get about how successful your efforts are being in terms of the skills that you're building, right? And if those skills are being effective to create a specific goal, right?
Yeah.
So, meaning it's great that you're trying to make them monetize, but also are the skills helping them create partnerships with other people around the world, right? Maybe the money will not come in the next week. It might come in the next 4 months, right? Because partnerships take a long time. A global partnership with a global brand is not going to take like a week.
Right? Oh yeah, definitely.
It's like a lot of conversations, a lot of back and forth. So it's, again, relationship building, right? And so my point is capacity building, yeah, from the ground, yeah, in terms of English skills, in terms of the basic digital literacy, what you call,
and
right?
basic ethics of communication.
Exactly, right? So the question is also metrics on communication, right? So communication is like how advanced you are on this partnership or this potential deal. What's the status? Like, those metrics in terms of have they managed to start having conversations with potential global clients, organizations, and so on and so forth. I think that will be a other very interesting metric, considering that remote work is here to stay.
Yeah.
Right? And remote work is not Pakistan, right? Remote
Yeah.
work is the planet Earth,
Yep.
right? And those guys out there, you're dealing with people from all over the world, right? Who their standard is global standard, it's not a Pakistani standard, right? So there's a gap. So that's one. And the other one is like, this is a long-term game also, right? It's not like a 1 or 2 month thing.
No.
It's like you invest in it and the reward will come more medium to long term, right? So it's a long-term play, capacity building and development, right? It's like you invest in the ecosystem, but yes, you create the seeds to build something huge, but the rewards will not be like immediate, right? It will take some time.
Definitely.
So I guess going back to the question is, have those metrics that at least tell you that you're going in the right direction based on the goals you've set, right? And it also feedback, right? As much feedback as possible with the students, right? As transparent as you can be in terms of their skills, in terms of you're not good enough at this. You should maybe pivot to this other thing. I think that would be great because we all have different skills, right? So not all of them are going to be good at Canva, or they're not all going to be good at social media. Some of them might be better at, yes, coding, or some of them might be better at X, right? So, yeah, so feedback, constant reiteration, not just in terms of your metrics, but also towards the students, giving them feedback will be amazing. Like after a month doing it, a comprehensive feedback, you did well here, not so great here. The question is, where should she focus on,
Right.
Is it strengthen their weaknesses or double focusing on their strengths, So that will be very interesting in terms of feedback towards the students.
It's true. Yeah. Great suggestion. Would definitely work on that. So we already have a counseling section where we talk to all the students. We have a conversation with them, how their journey is going so far, what can we improve, and if they even think that the course they're doing is providing them value, so that we can actually change some aspects of that course for them. So the only reason we force everyone, we're kind of forcing, but tell everyone to use Canva is because that's like the bare minimum that everyone should be doing.
Yep.
And should know. It's like knowing how to use a hammer or how to use a handle.
Sure, but you agree, not everybody's going to create an amazing banner at Canva. You know, some are going to be way better than others.
Definitely.
Right? Yeah, so you should double down on the ones who are great and not trying to make the ones who are not really good at it, right?
That's exactly, so that you're exactly right. And so even if you go to our class, we don't tell them to how to make it. Whatever they're making is good.
Yep.
And once it actually comes back to us, we segment them. So someone is good at editing, because someone is good at videos, because someone is good at video production. We're making micro agencies here. So we have 150 students. We're making 50 different companies where 3 students actually get together. They establish a company, an actual company, and then they find a niche where they're selling their product. So if someone is good with right now, because everyone we tell them that this is only graphic designing. So it's already, they already know that they get what they're getting into.
Yes.
And then they try to be better in that. But you're right, feedback is very important. We'll try to get better.
One more.
Mentors.
Network of mentors who they can basically interface with. And I'm saying not physical, virtual. Yes, I think access to mentors is key.
There's a wall of mentors downstairs. They can WhatsApp everyone. Everyone has WhatsApp groups with mentors already.
Good. So but that is a.
But thank you.
Should be a key priority.
It is, and you're very right. Anything else? We're here, and I will try to keep you in the loop also.
Nice.
I won't bug you too much, but I love your feedback, and I would genuinely, because we want this to reach the masses, not only in Pakistan but globally. And to achieve that, we need global feedback, as you said. Your feedback is very important, and other people's feedback is also
one more. If somebody succeeded, and with you have 500K mark or something, the highest mark.
No, it was 200K plus.
So basically, success stories. You know, everybody needs to hear, not just within
keeps them motivated.
Yes. Really broadcasting the success stories, right, to the community, because that would, people who have not heard of you guys can feel inspired. You know, that's very important. The inspiration and hearing good stories out of all the bad, it's like very important, and that would inspire other people. You know, one girl who from nothing started getting this income. It's inspiring for a lot of people here, right? So I think pushing those stories, it's very, very important.
It is. So our content is actually in Urdu. We got a very good video made yesterday. I was going to send it to you, but it was in Urdu. But it's, we're big on content already. And we're posting 3 to 4 success stories every day already.
Perfect.
So inspiration is like the key. That's what we're actually relying on big time. And then those students who succeed are the mentors for the ones who haven't.
Nice.
They're also the mentors, but also we have a board of like a list of mentors. There's a guy, the kid who I showed you this morning, who is from a small city and teaching 2,000 students. He's earning $1 million rupees a month himself also. He's only 15. So he comes here every week and talks to all the students. So he's also here. There's a lot of other people. There's Carla, who I also showed you. She's helping with the English. So there's different people who are working on capacity building, and we're trying to improve ourselves every day. So thank you for your feedbacks.
No worries, my pleasure.
So this was a pretty long podcast, but thank you for your time. It's really an honor to have you in Pakistan, especially in Karachi. Thank you for your time coming here, spending the day. We really want more people like you coming to Pakistan. And again, you are here. It's an honor for us. Let us know. Let anyone know whatever you want. I have seen the feedback you have been getting, and you will get even better feedback very soon. So just let us know whatever you need to make you succeed, so you can help us also.
शुक्रिया मैं आपसे मिल कर बहुत खुशकुन किया
खुश हुआ.
खुश हुआ Nice.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
Startups, entrepreneurship, starting your own new business. Join me every week as we dive into stories, topics, and advices from the top founders, innovators, the crazy ones, the misfits, the troublemakers. Every Saturday at 4 p.m. I'll see you there.